right. So some of this is going to feel for some people probably very elementary and rudimentary. But what I want to do is actually start going through. If I can get to that screen, there we go. Sorry, I was loading a video at the time. So let's get out of that. We're going to go all the way back here. Can you guys see this screen? It shows a horse. It says trot.
Yep.
Okay. So this is going to feel very rudimentary. And I'm going to go back and pause it. The reason we're going to watch this and watch this series is because most people think they know how to look at the gaits, and how can we ever assess if something seems a little off if we don't understand the basics? I like these videos because of the animation, and we'll do some others as well. So I'm going to make this one nice and big. These are short clips. I've got 4 or 5 of these, and then we're going to do some lameness evaluations. But just there's no sound to this. So I'm just going to play it. But if you want the links, I can send you the links for all of these. Hang on just 1 second. I'm going to mute myself for just a second so I can holler to get the dogs up. Okay. So believe it or not, this should not be the trot. Sorry, I think I'm on the wrong video. I want to go back to the walk first. I don't want the trot. I have 2 trots. Hold on, I think. Caleb. Oh, somehow I got all of these doubled up. That one's going to go right now. There we go. So I'll play these a few times. It can go off now. Sorry, it's really cold down here before. So it keeps wanting me to like hold my cursor over it, but there is a pause. So let's watch that again. So one thing to keep in mind is at the walk, the left hind should always be the first beat. Do you guys want to watch it one more time?
I'm good.
Everybody good there? It's going to keep going. So we'll play the trot next. So if I pause on the trot for a second, the trot is the most difficult and hardest of all of the gaits. So a dead lame horse can canter. A horse with a broken leg can canter-ish. But the trot is where most lameness is going to show up. It is almost never used to look at the canter for lameness, but you still need to understand it. We also really never look at the gallop for lameness either. If a lameness shows up at the walk, it's usually fairly significant. And there's a bunch of different theories that there's people who say that if it shows up at the walk, it's always in the hoof. I do not agree with that at all. I think that if you don't see it in the trot or anywhere else, maybe it could be a foot sore thing. But I think if you're seeing it in the walk, you're going to see it in the trot as well. So let's go back and just, we'll hit play on this again. Maybe. There we go. So you can see that the diagonal pairs land in unison. And it should start playing again here. And there's that period of suspension. So for us, as we're watching this, when you look at, say, you're looking at the left hind, right front, if one lands off beat from the other, like there's a delay or it's too quick, that's going to start get your wheels turning on where lameness might be located. I have had different theories from different veterinarians. Some say that if the horse is quick to get off of the one leg, that's the sore leg. I've had other vets say that if they're quick to get off of the one leg, then that's the compensatory leg. I think that it depends on the circumstances. I think that it's completely dependent upon what is actually wrong. I've seen it both ways. So I don't know if anyone else has anyone else seen it both ways when you look at a lameness where there's the leg that they're getting off of quickly is the injured leg, or vice versa. It's the compensatory leg. Have you guys, anybody seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not very uncommon actually to see it both ways. But if you read some textbooks, they're going to tell you that it's the leg they're getting off of fastest that is the injured leg. So we'll watch through these again. So when you're looking at it and practicing with your horses, sometimes what you'll end up finding, it's like, want to get back into the canter. Pardon the ads. There's not much I can do about ads. Until the skip button shows up. So this is important to understand because you're going to have clients that are like, my horse won't pick up the right lead or the left lead, or they're counter cantering, or they're cross-firing. Understanding how the motion occurs in the canter will help you figure out, like if your client says, my horse won't pick up its right lead canter, you need to understand which leg leaves the ground first and what's going on up the chain. Can the pelvis rotate to allow that drop and roll to occur? And then whichever side the horse can canter on, that's the side from a bodywork perspective that I typically start with. Not always, but sometimes. Probably the majority of the time I start with the side that the horse can canter on. And I do that because if they're not cantering on the opposite side, what do we know about restrictions? It's usually showing up on the side that is not affected, causing, and that this is a generalization, so it's definitely not the case in every situation. And I like that they show you the sequence, whether it's the left lead or the right lead in these videos, and that they're, animations. Okay, so before we go to the gallop, what do you guys think of those so far? Is that helping to piece anything together? Does it feel like it's very rudimentary that you don't need this, or
I like to
I think
see how the footfalls and how they colorize the legs too, because that's kind of helpful. You have four legs going different directions sometimes.
it
So
helps with the visual?
yeah, it
And
really
so
does.
a weird thing that you can do as a body worker, if you're working on developing that, you can use vet wrap and put a loose leg wrap, just like one piece, so that you can visualize it as you're watching horses go. So I actually did that today with a horse because one person that came out to do some work, the chiro, said that it was in the hind. I felt it was in the shoulder. They kept saying, no, it's the hind. So we did that. We put tape on the legs and it looks like it's both actually. So we were both right. But adding some tape, getting some colored vet wrap that are different colors can help you distinguish this as you're learning to train your eye to look for lameness. Any other questions? Are you ready to go on to the gallop?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. But I would say it also helps to visualize like the head and neck movement on that video,
Yeah.
like within each gait and how they differently like kind of move their head and neck with the gait.
Yep. And so like because you'll get comments like that too. Oh, this horse has a head bob or something like that. And there's different theories on head bobs as well. Like some vets say that if the head comes up, it's in the front end. If the head goes down, it's in the hind end. And then you have other vets who say if there's a head bob, it's front end, whether they go up or down with a head bob. I've personally seen it where the head goes down if there's a hind end lameness and comes up if it's a front end lameness. That's been kind of the general rule of what I've seen, but I mean, could I say that that happens every time? No. But watching the head and shoulders is really, I think, a good thing as well. All right, ready for the gallop video? So these are just on YouTube. They're nothing special, but I just really liked them. I really liked how it broke all of that down. All right. And I will share these links out to you guys if you would like. I just think that watching these over and over again and seeing how the feet fall is so helpful. And I think that something that's come up that's been kind of unique in hearing and reading things on social media is that most people think that the gallop is like the canter, that it's also a 3-beat. And the only thing that is a walk or that's a 4-beat is the walk. But if you go on social media, that's the kind of stuff that people are saying and sharing. And so, social media just doesn't have a lot of facts to it. Question everything, including what I tell you. I do like how it pauses so you can see it and read it. Okay, how do you guys feel about those? Helpful?
Yeah.
All right. And can you see this screen? It should say University of Georgia College of Veterinary Medicine. Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay. So again, like ignore this is a 7-minute long video and we're going to watch it and talk about it, but there's no sound. And it's all like subtitled. And so if you need me to slow it down, let me know. Okay, so did you guys read the subtitles on that?
Yeah.
Okay, so he does start by saying that it could be caused by a neurological issue or a tendon or ligament issue, or it can be what was the other thing that he was saying? Arthritis, or laminitis. Here's the reality. When we talk about stuff from the vet perspective, they never mention that it could be muscle restriction or things like that. They just don't really understand that the same way that bodywork looks at it. So injuries, but there's so much that's subclinical. I personally right now I'm working with several horses that the vets have ruled out everything and are telling the owners that they're fine, that the horse is fine, while the horse is literally snaking his neck around and bucking. I mean, there's something wrong, but the vets can't find anything in their toolbox. They can't figure it out. This horse has a form of head shaking syndrome. And they basically said it's behavioral. So we're going to look and see. And we're obviously not going to be doing all the palpation. So I want to kind of skip through that. But you do want, so if you watch just how he's palpating, they're palpating for flexion and to check for injury. You can be doing this too. But there's one thing, like in this situation, he's going down the leg, right? And he is looking for a reaction in the horse. You, as a body worker, don't always have to just look for a reaction. You can feel for differences in the thickness of the tissue. A horse that's had a prior injury, the tissue behind the cannon bone, all those tendons and ligaments will feel thicker. It can feel a little bit more rigid and hard. So make sure that you compare one leg to the other, compare for heat, compare for thickness, compare for any swelling, and then compare for reactivity. And I'll let that continue to play. But he's testing for lameness. That's a little outside of our scope. And one thing that I'm going to say is, like, she's jogging this horse and now she's lunging this horse. When you are jogging your horses for your vet, or your client is jogging the horse for you, you only want about 6 inches. You want your hand just below the chin and your arm is extended. They need to be keeping their head as straight as possible so that you can see what the body wants to do. If you don't keep the head straight, the body's going to follow the head, regardless of where it goes. So when you're asking your clients to jog the horse for you, make sure that they're holding that horse underneath the chin about 6 inches down on the lead rope, and that they're working to keep the horse as straight, or at least the head straight, and let the body follow. And then we'll be able to tell if something's going on. And I love what he says here. Like, what's the main reason horses are lame? Because of the way we use them. That's true. I think one thing that I really like about what he says is he talks about wear and tear, and what he's doing there on the back. He's kind of really digging into that. I would not personally start with that much pressure. I would gradually build up to that much pressure. So if I wasn't getting a reaction somewhere, and you can see, look at all the fluid in that stifle, like that looks like a lot of congestion in there, and there's a scar. But if I was palpating down the back, I'm going to start with a lighter pressure and then gradually go deeper. It doesn't mean I have to take a half hour to do it. I can run down lightly, get no reaction, add a little bit more pressure, get no reaction, add a ton of pressure and see if the horse just completely sinks and moves away from me. That would be an easy way to see if there's something deeper down going on. Okay, so that's all I wanted to show you guys in this video, but I'll share it as well. What do you guys think? Oh, they're so quiet.
I think it was helpful to see like how they palpate kind of
mhm.
but
So the vets use quite a bit of pressure. They do use quite a bit of pressure. So we'll skip this ad. This is what it's called the lameness lab. I kind of like the videos. I'm not really concerned too much about her commentary. But I like the video. And so we're going to watch and see if we can figure it out. It shows up fairly obvious in this clip right here. So let's pause for just a second. What did you guys see? Or do you want to watch it again?
You play it again.
And these are quick 2-minute videos, not even. It's a tough one, isn't it? And we don't have the advantage of hearing footfalls in this. You will if I send you the link and you can listen to it. What do you think?
With the right hind.
That's what I see. What does everybody else see?
I don't know if it's my internet, but I have a delay in the video.
Oh, you do? Oh, darn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I don't know what it is, but it was definitely hard for me to tell.
Okay, I'll send the links
It
out.
is going fast motion, slow motion, fast motion, slow motion.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
It's not consistent.
Oh, okay.
Daryl,
No, I'm saying I think I can't see anything because it's going faster than it's going slow. It's
Okay.
There's like a weird delay.
Yeah, it's strange.
Like one of the times trotting away, it just like went super fast and you couldn't see
Mhm.
anything.
Oh, really? Oh, gosh.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
They're not working out quite the way I'd hoped. I'm going to try to put the volume on so see if you guys can hear it.
This horse has been evaluated for lameness.
Can you
in
hear
straight
that?
Line on a hard
Yep.
surface. This horse has a right hind limb lameness. The horse is hiking its hip when the right hind leg, that is the white leg, hits the ground. No front limb lameness is evident. When the video is slowed down, it is easier to
Can you
observe,
see the hip hike?
but in general, hind limb lamenesses
Sorry
are
for all
more
these.
difficult to detect than front limb lamenesses.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like mess on here now. I don't know how to get rid of all that. So she's got one more. And I'll mute again just for a second. So here, when you're looking at it, most people are looking right at the leg or the legs, but pay attention to the hips and the shoulders and how the head is carried as well. So if there's head tilt, head carriage that's like tipping an ear to one side or the other, or a whole head being tilted, or look at that hip hike. And sometimes you have to stand right behind them. This is a very obvious to me. So no volume, and then we'll watch it with the volume now that I know you guys can hear the video. So do you see the little bit of disadvantage of her holding the lead rope so far out? The horse is putting his head towards her instead of her holding the horse's head steady. So this horse is bobbing his head down. Do you guys agree?
Yes.
Any comments? Anything you guys want to talk about as we watch this before I continue? No.
I think
Okay.
a lot of times people think that they're lame on the leg that lands heavy, but the leg that lands heavy is usually the sound leg, and they're getting off of the leg that hurts, so they tend to land heavier on the sound leg.
Yep, exactly. And they're also
But-
quicker off of the sound leg. They want to get it back on the ground to support the other one really fast. At least that's theory. He's clearly upset. The tail, so look at behavior. He's like swirling his tail. That's not like a tail swish. That's a switch of the tail. He's showing that he's upset. He's uncomfortable. That body language in this horse is pretty evident that he's hurting. So which leg do you guys think is off so far?
To the front left.
Anybody else?
Right front.
And let me know if you want to go back and watch the other videos. Daryl, what was your comment?
I think it's right front.
All right, I'm going to turn the volume on.
This horse has an obvious head bob at the trot, and to determine which leg the horse is lame on, we need to decide which leg is hitting the ground when the head is elevated. So this horse has a right front limb lameness. Their head is rising as the lame leg, the right front hits the ground. Other assessments we want to make of a lameness in addition to the head bob include foot arc, cranial phase of the stride, that is the stride shorter on the lame leg compared to the other limb, and placement of the foot.
So I'm
This horse
watching
doesn't
this.
appear to have a significantly shortened stride at the
Yep.
trot. On the lunge line, going to the left, the right front, the lame limb is on the outside of the circle. The two differences on the lunge line is that the horse here is on a soft surface, and there'll be different loading of the leg than when it's in a straight line. As you can see, this horse is reluctant to move in a small circle. Its reluctance might be due to the soft footing, the size of the circle, or the different load distribution. When the right front limb is on the inside of the circle, the horse possibly appears somewhat more lame, which would be consistent with increased weight bearing on the lame leg. The head bob is obvious at all assessments, straight line, circle to both directions, and hard and soft surface.
So surface makes a big difference as well. If you guys are having your horse jog down a concrete aisle, or be sure to check it on a different type of surface as well. What questions do you guys have so far before we do the third one?
No questions yet.
No questions. You guys are such a quiet group. I'm worried that I'm not providing you the info you need. Everybody's so quiet. I haven't watched this one yet, so it's my first time seeing this video. Does everybody here understand the difference between the swing phase and the load phase and everything?
Yes.
So what do you guys notice as this horse is trotting on the lunge? And I can go back the other direct, like back it up too. Do you want to back that up and watch that part again?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
We're going to go to the beginning. This is definitely a harder horse to assess.
Is it definitely lame? Because I just saw it says, is this horse lame with a question mark?
I see things, whether they would call it lame. I haven't watched this video yet, so this is the first for me too. But I see things that I see as dysfunctional from a bodywork perspective that could be improved upon. But I personally am not seeing an obvious lameness. I don't know if anybody else
Especially on a straight line, I don't see anything. On the circle, he tracks up a little bit less with his outside hind, but he tracks up less on both directions,
Yeah, and
which is normal, I think.
Yep. And so regardless of which way he goes, he carries his head to the outside and he's on the
And
lunge.
looks around.
And so what's that?
And like which looks around, like outside, inside, looking all around.
So you know, he looks distracted, he's not focused. Most horses that are pretty comfortable in their body look that way to me. Like they're, you know, it takes him a minute. He looks playful. And the only thing that I see is like maybe some stuff in his upper neck and maybe a little bit in his mid back where things don't have quite as much of a bounce in there. There's just not quite as much movement, but that's me being exceptionally picky. Like I'm looking for stuff. He's cute though, isn't he? All right, let's see.
This horse has been assessed for lameness on a hard surface in a straight line. When viewed from behind, it can be seen that both hips are symmetrical in their movement and the gluteal excursion is similar. When viewed from in front, the foot placement can be seen to be symmetrical also.
That's something I want to point out. When you're watching, can you guys see my hands or no? I don't know if you can or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when all the feet are in line, if you're watching a horse trot and you have the feet are not landing in line with one another, notice the foot that or feet that is not landing square. So they should be pretty lined up.
When viewed from the side, the horse tracks up well and has good cranial phase of the stride on the front limbs. The foot arc is also normal in all four limbs of the horse.
And the foot arc is the bend in the fetlock, the pastern
This
to the
horse is now
hoof.
being assessed on the lunge line to the left on a soft surface. And again, they seem to have a nice balanced stride. There's good flexion in all joints and flexion and extension of the back as well. Lameness can be exacerbated on a lunge line compared to a straight line, but no lameness is evident in this horse.
All right. So what do you guys think of that? I'm gonna go to the end.
You're not a child, you're a man, so stop wearing so many layers.
I guess. All right. Why are we getting so many ads? I've heard that they must get paid for their stuff. Is what we're doing here helpful? Is this helping you guys start to kind of put some pieces together, or am I off base?
No, I think it helps.
Okay.
I think it's helpful too. I think I just want links to all these videos so I can watch them.
I'll send them out in an email as soon as we're done.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. All right, ready? This will be the last one we do of these. Of this particular series. Oof. I forgot about this one. Can you guys see it still?
No.
No, it's black now.
I'm like, what happened? What did I touch? How about now? Still no?
I can see it now.
Okay. I'll start it back over again. Sorry about that. I touched a button apparently. So one thing, look at how she's jogging the horse. She's having a hard time even getting him going, and she's kind of dragging him. He has no willingness to move forward. Ears pinned back. Just look at the body language. And she's almost using her body to keep him straight.
This is a standard bred pacer. The view when standing behind the horse is somewhat different because of the nature of the gait when pacing. This horse has a hip hike when the left hind limb is
So you
weight
see it
bearing,
right there.
indicating that this horse has a left hind limb lameness.
So I wanted to share that screen in particular because a gaited horse is very hard to assess, in my opinion. See if I can get back to shrink that just a little bit. So the gaited horses, in my opinion, are really hard to assess. I find them difficult. They're challenging for me. Can ultimately get it eventually. Whoops, not what yeah, this is the video. And can you guys see this video?
Yes.
So this is just talking again about those gaits and assessing the difference between a pace and a told and a trot. Because especially up in Wisconsin, I don't know about other parts of the country, but Wisconsin and Minnesota have a lot of endurance horses. A lot of those horses are Icelandics or otherwise a breed that is like Tennessee Walkers, things like that, that usually go in some form of a pace or a tolt. They're just so hard to assess. So for me, because I really struggle with watching their feet move, I have to look at the shoulders and the hips and the head. Because to me, gaited horses almost always look lame,
I'd agree.
even though they're not, but they look it. So how do you determine if a gaited horse has a problem that needs a vet or that you can resolve? They're so difficult for us to see that it's really hard for us to tell that. Make that bigger again. There we go. So kind of weird, right? I mean, I say weird. It's weird to me. What do you guys think of looking at some of those horses?
It's hard to watch, honestly. Like for me anyways.
I think they're hard to watch. I don't disagree with that.
I think it's important, especially in this area, because they're very popular for trail riding.
Yeah.
I know 5 people offhand that use Tennessee Walkers and Icelandics. So,
And so for myself, I have to rely on what I feel with my hands more than what I'm seeing with my eyes when it comes to some of the gaited, because my brain will not make that switch to be able to really dissect unless it's super obvious, a horse in motion that's gaited. I struggle with it.
absolutely.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
even riding them, you can't really tell.
It's tough. It's really. So now we're gonna watch some dressage. And these are, I'm gonna mute this, maybe. Maybe, there's my speaker. So I don't really care about the music, but can you guys see the video?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry, I got distracted.
that's okay. I want to try to make this video bigger. Why can I not make it bigger? I don't know why I can't make this video bigger. Probably because it's off of the FEI channel, but so these are horses that are winning prizes. They're winning ribbons and everything. And obviously these horses pass a jog, they pass their vetting, they're competing at the FEI level. And what can we decipher in terms of, while this might be judged correct, etc., what can we look at from a bodywork perspective that we can do to improve the mobility of a horse like this? So, and here we are, we're going to pick apart Stefan Peters, but let's pick it apart. What do you guys think? What do you see here? Or do you need the video in a completely different format? If it's hard to watch, I understand that.
I don't think it's hard to watch.
No, I meant like the video is difficult to see, not like it's hard to watch the rider.
No, like it's not difficult to see is what I meant. I mean, but like coming into the piaffe, he gets wide up front, which means he's not like truly coming through and stepping under. So he's not sitting on that hind leg to come into the piaffe like he should.
And why do you think he is doing that?
He's a little tight through his top line, like it through this, like he drops a little bit at the base of his neck and the withers.
Why would he be dropped at the base of the neck and through the withers?
He's not coming through.
Thoracic sling dysfunction.
Thoracic sling dysfunction. And watching how this horse's head is being carried, do you believe that there might be some influence in that? So you
Yeah.
can also see that there's a little bit of, in a couple of steps, he crosses over in the hinds when they should be close, but not. And then the back is allowed to compress so tightly that he almost looks like he's a little bit roached in the back. But there's no open space here. And yes, his head is technically on the vertical, but the neck is plumed and elevated like this, and then the head is pulled back. And with that, to get the shoulders to move, they have to step wide. Otherwise, that function all the way down to the first thoracic vertebrae has been shut down.
He's on the vertical, but his pole is not the highest point.
Yep. No, the crest of the neck is the highest. Right there. That's a great observation, Daryl. Thanks for pointing that out. You want to watch another one?
Yeah.
So this is where to go. This is our infamous now. She's infamous. And for the record, I'm not picking apart any rider whatsoever. We are just looking at how the horses we can adjust their movements and improve upon movement. That's our job, right? Our job is not, except for Daryl here, our job is not to train. Our job is to help prevent dysfunction, help improve dysfunction, have a horse moving as optimally as possible. And again, here, there is literally no space between the neck and the throat latch. And to get those movements, I don't ride at that level. I have no idea what it takes from a rider's perspective to get those movements. But I can tell you functionally, I have watched riders do this without double bridles. I've watched them do it. And so there has to be a way. However, that's not our job. This is going to take time for people to change how they ride and whatnot as like the sport evolves. What our job is to help these athletes move as best as they can under our care. But watching this ultimately, and I would imagine that these guys do all the body work, they do all of the things. These horses don't have drastically collapsed, like this guy, it's a little hard to tell, but he doesn't look like he has a dip at all in front of the shoulders. He's well built, well muscled, has a good glute, everything. And so the cross training here is probably, and I'm speculating, but it's probably pretty significant. And I do know that she's very well known for taking her horses out on long hacks and doing hill work. I mean, she's got a reputation for doing some of that. Let's find another one that's a little bit less where is it? Oh, in the lameness labs. There's one in particular that I'm looking for. Oh, this is it. This one is a famous one. It's a famous horse. It's a famous guy. And let's see what you guys think. Do you want the music while you watch this?
It doesn't matter.
Okay. I find it kind of distracting. But this horse is not relaxed. Would you guys agree?
Yes.
But look at the balance here. That's pretty incredible. However, highest point is the crest of the neck, not the poll. The throat latch is closed. And if I pause here, what do you see?
Drops in the back.
Collapse through the back, right? Through the top line. Pay
With no
attention to
stepping
that.
under.
What's that?
With no stepping under.
Mm-hmm. And so while this horse is obviously not lame, there's dysfunction here. And ultimately would lead to lameness at some point in this horse's career from repetitive use, that type of thing. So, and then he goes and kind of pauses, but here he's on the straight at an extended trot, and the back is still not, he's still not coming up and over the back. I personally, in this I've watched this hundreds of times and evaluated it so many times. I think that I only see like 3 points in this whole video where the horse actually engages and uses its back. And yet this was a winning round. So, and that's not my point, how the horse is judged. We're looking at movement. And so if you watch, every horse is going to kind of pull the head up to get everything under. But if this horse was allowed its head and to extend that, the back and the buttocks would come up and the head would go forward and it lengthen the neck a little bit. Could the horse still do those movements while doing that? I don't know. I've watched them do it. Would this horse do it? Maybe with some time and training. I don't know. Do you guys want to watch the rest or are you good?
I'm good.
Okay. So let's shut those down. So what do you guys think about when you're watching horses move? How do you guys, when you're watching it right now, what are you looking at? How are you trying to assess that? The obvious are easy. The subtle things are what you guys are going to see most of the time when you're out there. And Candace, would you agree, like what you see, most of it is pretty subtle unless it's come from some form of a referral?
Typically, yeah.
So training your eye to look for that hip hike, to look for the hip drop, to look for the shoulder asymmetry, listening for those footfalls. And keep in mind what Daryl said, the heavy footfall is usually the sound leg. But if you hear a heavy footfall, you need a new assessment. So almost every horse that I work on, I will listen to them when the owner brings the horse in. If they're walking the horse in, I will just close my eyes and I just listen. If I hear something off, I open my eyes. I'm like, okay, what is that? Can you walk him one more time? So don't be afraid to like have the horse move quite a bit. And if you need to, as you're developing your eye and your feel, don't be afraid to ask for the horse to be lunged if you can. And when you're getting started, build in the time to do those things until you feel confident in your feel and that you can see it in the walk or the trot in a jog situation. But keep in mind, our job isn't to diagnose. However, if you see something that's really obvious, those are great opportunities to refer out, to do what you can for it, etc.
So Chris, like note wise then, like if you see a horse like that's like dropping the hip or whatever, like you would just make a note like whatever and then refer to vet, like but not diagnose, like think lameness in this leg basically.
Yeah, don't use the word lameness. You can say horse appears to be short striding or appears to be landing heavy, or you could say horse is landing heavy on right front, won't pick up left lead canter, so that you're providing all of that information. you're going to get to where you're having conversations with the owners and they're going to sit there and go, but what do you think is wrong? And they're going to try to press you for a diagnosis. I constantly, and Candace probably does this too, but I'm constantly saying, look, I'm not a vet. What I'm seeing is this. I'll send you your notes. I think that it might be worth a vet referral if it's obvious. Otherwise, I'm like, how about like take what we did today? Let's see how your horse is over the next 7 days. If there's no improvement or if it gets worse, then I would say call your vet out. However, other times I will prep the client and say, this might get worse before it gets better. An example is I've got a client down in Colorado Springs and this horse was acting very girthy and struggling to pick up, I think it's the left lead. After body work, the left lead issue went away and he's picking up both leads, but he's still really, really girthy. So, okay, are we starting to think maybe ulcers? Are we thinking that it's still something else? And so we experimented. I don't have a scope, I'm not a vet. I cannot recommend omeprazole. The best I could say is I might suspect this would be worth talking to your vet to see if it's ulcers. There's acupressure points that we can play with to determine whether a horse is reactive to those points. For this particular horse, he's not reactive to any of those. However, I had her tack him up. I'm like, why don't you put the saddle on? Let's see. And we played with it. If she tightens the girth from the left side, he's cinchy. If she tightens it from the right, he's not. So which side do you think the restrictions in the rib is? In the ribs or sternum or back, any of those places. But something's impinged is where my brain would start to think. Because if it was ulcer acupoints are on the right side and he's not reactive if you tighten the girth from the right. You can also touch those and touch his belly and all of that and have no reaction until you put the girth on. So after I worked on him, and I showed her, I was like, she's like, I can't get a belly lift. He wants to kick. He wants to do this. I worked on him. By the time I was done, I could ask for butt tucks, belly lifts, wither lifts. I could ask for anything without a reaction. No reaction whatsoever. And then asking tons of questions, which I asked prior to the appointment. Afterwards, when I was explaining to her what was going on, I was like, so when we do this way versus this way, we don't get a reaction. She goes, well, I wonder if that's why the chiropractor always finds a rib out on the right side. Maybe that's why he's cinchy. Maybe. So ask lots of questions. No question is dumb. No question is stupid. Your clients will take so much information for granted and not think that it's important, but that information gives us a lot of direction on where to go to work.
So do you find yourself asking like basically the same questions kind of throughout the session? Because like as you like explain more to your client, sometimes all of a sudden they have like that light bulb moment, like the chiropractor thing.
I will, if they're there. So that's another thing is like, this is a trainer and it's one of her lesson horses. So she was out teaching a lesson. I couldn't really talk to her until she got back, but her groom kept grabbing tack and we were playing with it. So it wasn't until after that I was able to talk to the owner. However, she had talked with me prior to going out to teach her lesson and I asked all the questions. Do you have anything chronic, anything that they find all the time? That the problem was I didn't say, does your chiropractor find anything? So she answered, oh, the vet never finds anything wrong, but the chiropractor has. And I wasn't specific enough and she didn't think of it as being relevant. So we don't always remember to ask all the questions either, but do you guys have any other questions? Is there anything else I can walk through with tonight or?
I don't have any more.
Okay. I would like to keep working through this process. Do you guys enjoy this? Are you getting a lot out of it? I'll stop recording, but